Hey everybody, I'm Greg Sewell and welcome to another CIQ demo. So today I'm going to be showing you how to use Ascender, right, our automation platform, to configure a local Rocky repository. So why is that useful, right? It could be a few different reasons probably. So one being, I don't have a lot of internet bandwidth, right? Like every time I do an update on my systems, right, it's like a DNF update, it's going to go to the internet, it's going to pull all that stuff down. Now, that's probably not too big a deal if I've got one or two machines. So say I have thousands of machines and I'm doing updates, right? That can be kind of a hog on your bandwidth. So that's one instance. Another could be you have a very secure environment. So your machines don't just have default access to the internet, so they need to actually get that from some local system or source, right? So this is going to be kind of a quick and easy way to show you how to do that. I have an associated blog post. And ultimately, there is a Rocky guide that shows how to do a portion of this. I've kind of built on it and have it do all the extra stuff, and all those links should be in there as well. So let's take a look really quick at my automation here in Ascender. So I'm going to come into the job template section. I've already created this simple job template. I'm going to look for repo, I believe is what I named it, Rocky Local Repository. So in here, I have a couple of cool things going on. One is I'm actually prompting for some information. I'm using something called a survey. So I'm going to go into this job template itself. I'm going to look at survey right here. And for those of you in the know, it just gives you the ability to pop up some really easy, hey, fill in the blank information for your users. And so here I'm saying, do you want to sync the repo now? So one thing I do in this playbook is I have the option to, at the very end, go ahead and fire off the synchronization. I'm setting a cron job, right? So we'll run on an even schedule. But at the end of this, do I want it to go ahead and just do a quick update? Yes, I do, because I'm doing a demo and I want you to be able to see what's going on. So I'm going to jump back to the template itself, and I'm just going to click the little rocket ship here, and I'm going to launch it. So do I want to sync the repo now? I've got it defaulting to false. I'll change that to true. I'll click next and launch, and then my automation is off and running. So while that happens, or rather while that runs, I'm going to pop over to the playbook itself, and I want to show you a couple of the knobs you may or may not want to turn. So here's the playbook. It doesn't look anything too crazy, but I do have some variables in the variables section here that are useful. So I have web path, and so this is going to be the path to your web repository. So it's basically the root folder where all the files are going to get synchronized to, right in there. Script path, so this is using a bash script to actually do the rsync, and ultimately that's what it's doing. It's just rsyncing these files and making sure it grabs the newest version or synchronizes everything that happens to be in there. And so you want to update those paths to match whatever your environment looks like. So the sync hour frequency, I have this set up to where it will just do it based on hours. So you just put the number of hours in there. You want it to wait in between synchronizing. Configure web server. Now, the guide we have online assumes you already have a web server configured. I didn't want to assume that. So if you are, say, setting up a server from scratch and there is no web server on here, if you set this to true, it will go and it will install an Nginx server, configure all the settings for you as is appropriate so that it will, kind of have it browsable and ready for you to utilize. Now, if you underneath that have SE Linux config true, that will set up the web folder. It'll kind of reset the permission structure in there, because it's also going to make sure all these folders exist. So the assumption is they probably don't. So it will create that folder, and then it will just make sure that SE Linux is configured properly. Now it's only going to do that if you are installing the web server. So if you want it to be a different behavior than that, you might need to modify this. And then also you can see the sync now option is there. By default, I have it set to false, just so it won't synchronize on the regular interval. But in my case, I wanted it to actually be true. So all of these things, you may want to adjust these settings. You may want to adjust the defaults. Now let me scroll down a little bit. When we're doing our synchronizing, we are doing rsync, but we're using an exclusion file. So what that allows you to do is specify certain files or folders that you don't actually want to synchronize. And so in our environment, this is the exclusion file kindly provided by my associate, my compadre, my ninja friend, Jimmy Connor. So here you could see is just a big list of things that we don't necessarily want to pull down. Some aren't going to be used in our environment. Some may be in yours, right? So you might want to modify this list. But for us, it's kind of helpful. It also means there's fewer space requirements on your server, right? So if you're not just pulling everything down, you're going to consume less space, which is more efficient both on your bandwidth as well as on your storage. Now, keep in mind, once everything is rsync, it's not just going to pull everything down over and over and over. That's kind of not the nature of rsync. It's going to compare the two and really just pull things that have changed. So it is fairly space efficient. A lot of this is utilizing templates as well. So if you take a look at the template folder here, you can see kind of all of my templates I'm using, right? The excludes, the Nginx, and the repository synchronization script. So feel free to pop in there. Now let me pop back over to our job. It was successful, it completed. So now that everything has run, it is saying that it is syncing correctly. Let me jump to the very bottom. Yep, so it is synchronizing now. So let me tab over to my terminal and we'll watch that grow just to make sure that it's actually working. All right, so here we are. This is the terminal on the server. I'm just doing a watch on df-h, and right there on the rl-root, you should see the space being used increment slowly. I've got it refreshing, I think, every 2 seconds. Yeah, it says on the top right. As you can see, it's actually pulling all that stuff in, so it successfully worked. You can see it went really fast. There's not a lot to talk about here. The steps are pretty laid out. Everything's going to be documented in the blog post. So if you have any questions or comments, or you'd make any modifications, I would love to hear from you. Feedback is a gift, and it is almost the holiday season, so feel free to give me any of those. If you would like any assistance doing any of this inside of your environment, please feel free to reach out. We do support on all of our products, and so we would be happy to hear from you. If nothing else, happy automating, happy local repoing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.